If they want to tell you, like if they hang up the phone and they're just like, oh, and then they tell you.
Obviously your boys piss them off, right?
You're listening to Workplace Inappropriate, where HR professionals and their guests discuss real workplace scenarios to answer the question, what is workplace inappropriate? Co-hosts and HR professionals Kearin Lowry, Kate Owen, and Zoe Grahl of WorkforcePositive.com won't bore you with employment law or get right just about workplace conduct. Instead, they're going to answer real questions, like should I dance on the table at the Christmas party? Or can I tell someone their clothes are workplace inappropriate? Kearin, Kate, Zoe, and their guests are lifting the lid on some HR juice and losing the HR fun police tag. With their A-plus HR advice, you can have fun and still keep your job. Now, here are your hosts, Kearin, Kate, and Zoe.
Hello and welcome back to the Workplace Inappropriate podcast hosted by Workforce Positive. I'm Kate. I'm here with Kearin and Zoe.
Hi.
In today's topic, we are talking about maintaining boundaries in the workplace. It's a very interesting topic and correlates well with our other episodes we've done, so go and check out those as well.
Welcome to the Workplace Inappropriate podcast brought to you by Workforce Positive. My name's Kearin Lowry and I'm the Director of Workforce Positive, and we'll take a couple of moments just to tell you a little bit about us. We're a HR consulting firm. We're based in Queensland in Australia, and our passion is to fortify our client businesses against risk, to formulate their success pathway towards their future realised. And as a business owner, I know that your future realised is the zenith of all your plans and goals, all the hopes and dreams that you had when you started your business. So how do we do that? Well, we do all the usual things that you'd expect. Employment contracts, we do recruitment, we do success profiling, we do individual performance, learning and development plans, and we run workshops and team building. But what we're really passionate about is bullying and harassment prevention. The Workplace Inappropriate podcast is part of that purpose that we feel strongly about. Creating workplaces where people feel safe to be themselves, they feel heard, and they know they can come to work and enjoy friendships and engagement with customers and their job, and they don't have to worry about being harassed or bullied or sexually assaulted. That's our ideal workplace and an ideal outcome from our prevention programs. So in our episodes, we're going to discuss everyday things that happen in workplaces all the time. And sometimes they mean nothing. And sometimes they can lead to a very bad outcome for the employees and for the business. So today, we're going to talk about something that's pertinent and interesting, hopefully, and give you some tips about how you can show up and do your best at work and be workplace appropriate. If you have any ideas for our podcast, we'd love to hear them. We'd love to hear topics and questions. Q&A is always open every month for you to submit your questions. And if you're interested as a business owner in learning more about how you can create better workplace interactions and prevent bullying and harassment, then please engage with us. Give us a call on 0746 02 9990 or contact us through the website workforcepositive.com to talk to us about our prevention programs. We have an efficient, effective, cost-effective program that you can access on a monthly or annual basis. It's my pleasure to bring you this podcast and I hope you enjoy it. Let's take a moment to introduce the people that make this podcast possible. We have Kate. Kate is our HR program coordinator and my executive assistant at Workforce Positive. She's a current HR student at university studying business management, majoring in HR and maybe accounting, but she hasn't decided yet. Kate's passionate about equity. She loves to do the right thing and she has an incredible work ethic. As a person, she's just a pleasure to have around and so funny. But do watch out for her hockey stick. We have Zoe. Zoe is also a student at the Australian National University studying psychology and international business. She's in her second year and about to jet set off to the UK for a vacation internship or exchange program. I think that's what it's called, an exchange program. Zoe has an incredible interest in communication, psychology, diversity, and she brings all of her own work experiences and experiences at university to the table. She loves to know why things happen, why people communicate, and how they can go astray sometimes. We also have our regular Joe off the street. Now, regular Joe, he represents just that, regular Joe. He's all about not being politically correct, not being censored, saying what you think, and letting everyone just be themselves. So thank you to Kate, Zoe, and Joe off the street for bringing your talents to the show. So don't let me keep you from this episode any longer.
So today's topic, as I said, is boundaries in the workplace.
You're walking with a little bubble around you.
Yeah.
Don't touch me.
A little hamster wheel in your bubble. This is work me.
What's this song? It's like, no. What's that, Camp Rock?
Yeah. Is that not what you were talking about?
No, I was like, it's the one that's like, don't touch me there. This is mine. No square.
Oh my God.
What song is that?
That's giving sexual harassment.
Yeah, exactly. You go to work.
Is that like a kid's learn about your body safety?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's like, no.
I don't know that song.
No, don't touch me there.
thought
We used to
Get a
always
link
sing
to
that
the
in
song.
primary
Square.
school. Anyways, boundaries, everyone. Don't touch him
Boundaries.
in a square.
The first thing I think of is like time.
What do you mean by that? Elaborate.
Well, like time as in like there's time that's for work and there's time that's for me,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
you know, so
So your personal, your life work balance.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like I don't necessarily want to engage in text messages with work colleagues all night. Like I saw you all day, I don't need to talk to you all night.
Yeah. I think because I actually was doing an assignment last year and we had to like look into some like recent, like how COVID affected, you know, just the workplace in general. And what came up a lot was because people were working remotely, there was no like split between your personal life and your life, and people started to get like all consumed. And that came into not being able to like have a professional persona at work. So like you might be a little bit more like laid back, which is fine. But if that seeps into like your work, then that's not that good. And it was also just like the amount of stress. Like if someone was really invested in their work, like they would spend their whole time just work mode. You know, they never got time to like sit back and relax because they could never separate themselves from that.
Yeah, right.
And then it was saying that people have taken like this experience with remote work back into the workplace. So I think it's sort of important to talk about like how do you establish, you know,
Like just working a lot more hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also just like, I don't know, they're like, their perception, like they don't really have a like separate professional and home self and they don't know how to relax and just shut off from work.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Good points.
Yeah.
Like simple things like having notifications of email on your phone. I think, you know, I regularly turn them off.
Yeah, just to separate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's rarely a work email that I would have to respond to after 6 o'clock at night
Yeah.
or on the weekend.
Yeah, it's your time.
Well, I feel like young people really struggle with that because when you're working like, hospital and retail, you're on call 24/7 and if you don't answer your phone, people are like, why didn't you answer your phone? Like, what were you doing? Like, why didn't you like cover the shift today or like anything like that? But it's like, I think it's like for me, I'm like, if I'm not at work, you know, you're not at work, like try and relax. Not think about it. It's honestly anxiety inducing if you're like constantly on the ball all the time.
Yeah, that's right. And it's for your health and mental health too.
Yeah.
Like if you're not switching off, how are you meant to enjoy being switched off? Like, you know what I mean? It's like how are you meant to enjoy being with your family and having fun outside of work when you're not switching off from work. And that comes down to the point of the boundaries that we set. So that could include, you know, boundaries like to do with emailing, stuff like that, or it can include having boundaries with your coworkers as well. So like sometimes you don't want to be talking to your coworkers outside of work, which is perfectly normal and perfectly fine. They don't have to be your lifelong friends and you don't have to get butthurt when they don't want to be your lifelong friend.
Interesting term, butthurt. I can't say I've ever used it.
It's become a new term I like.
Is that like upset?
Yeah,
Yeah, butthurt.
you're butthurt.
I don't, where did that even come from?
I don't know,
Like,
it's
I feel
because
like it just has grown.
It has
and now it's
grown.
used casually. It's weird.
It's like pop culture term now,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but so like I know in some cases like people get a little bit iffy, butthurt when someone that like, you know, there's, oh, I'm having a barbecue on the weekend, like do you want to come?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, like no, I'm fine. Like those people get butthurt because that person doesn't want to come, but they just need to respect their boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, like that person doesn't want work, you know, outside of work, which is completely fine and you need to be able to accept that as well. as like outside
100%.
like I don't know what I'm saying.
And obviously,
but
like, you have this persona at work, like, you're not 100% comfortable and fully, like, just, you know, letting loose. So, like, if you're friends with someone there, a lot of the time, like, it's arisen from your professional sort of vibe at work. So, if, like, you don't want to have to sort of, you don't think you get along with someone, like, just being yourself and just, like, chilling out. Like, it's sort of a little bit more effort to, like, be, like, they're still friends, but it takes a little bit of effort. Like, it's okay to be like, look, we don't have to hang out every day. Like, it's fine, you know?
You're kind of like a captive audience, aren't you? So you have to be nice and you have to respond and...
Yeah, that's right.
Because you've got to work
Yeah, you
with
have
them.
to. Yeah, you have to. So it's like when you don't have to, different story.
Different story altogether.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you don't put those boundaries in place in regards to time, the things that you stop doing are the things that are good for you, I think. So like the time that it takes to exercise or the time that it takes to cook your own dinner and choose what you want to eat as opposed to, you know, choosing something on the run or you know,
100%.
a convenient choice. They're the things that I think you sacrifice first that you don't notice.
There's like so much research that is like you're like killing yourself doing this work, but you would actually be more productive if you time managed properly and if you spent time to yourself and if you looked after yourself and you ate well and you exercise regularly. Like that's going to show in like your performance because your brain's the healthiest it is, you know. So that's why it's important.
a good, easy way of putting it, hey?
Yeah.
It's about fueling your brain.
Yeah, it's like a biological thing. Like if you're not sleeping and you're not eating well, you're not like looking after yourself, you're not going to be able to work to like the best of your ability at all. Yeah.
I think that in this day and age, we've come in your job, you think that you haven't had enough productivity in the day. And I think that comes down to the stem of we are so used to everything moves so quickly. Like you'll hear everyone being like, oh my God, 2022 has gone so fast, or 2023 is going so fast. You know what I mean? But the reason, and like this is just across like all ages, like you think like as you get older, the years get quicker. But you know, myself compared to like last year or the 2 years, this year's just going so much quicker. And it's because the way we live is so much more instant. You know, we get an email quicker, we get a message instant, you know, a response is instant, we get our food made for us instant, like everything is instant. And so we get so used to cramming everything into such a small space that when we get this feeling that it's not full.
Yeah,
you know?
we've got to get as much in as we possibly can.
Whereas we need to get out of that mindset and think, well, I've done a lot today, I need to stop and go home. And then not think of it as like, okay, I need to go home, I need to cook dinner, I need to get the kids ready, I need to do this, I need to do this. You just got to like go home and just do what you have to do. Like, don't make it such a...
Chore-driven.
Chore, yeah, that's the word, yeah.
Kind of made life a grind.
Yeah, definitely we have.
I hate that.
work.
Like I hate that culture, and honestly, that's a lot of Australia. It's just like life is work, and like that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like take a morning to yourself. Like go for a walk before you go to work. You know, like you can organize your time if you want to go to work earlier and like end earlier or like, work later. Just like do what suits you if you can. Like obviously talk to people about it, but like if you can make those changes that make you feel better and like give you time to yourself to just like enjoy your life, you know, that's what's important.
Yeah, don't be afraid to like take a holiday too.
Yeah,
You
take
know,
leave.
Take leave, like you're given leave for a reason to take it. You know, it's important to your health to have those opportunities. Even if you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's best not to go anywhere. Lots of people talk about you need a holiday after your holiday to get over your holiday.
Yeah. Holidays are draining, honestly.
So tiring.
Yeah.
Because we're cramming everything in.
Yeah. True, you can't just enjoy it. You need to be constantly doing activities.
Well, the itinerary has to be maximising the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Every day, 12 hours, seeing as much as possible.
Well, I think people get really worried because, like, when you do take leave, a lot of managers sometimes are, like, salty about it. Like, that's not... I feel like it's not... They're butthurt. Very common
The episode where we say butthurt a lot of times. I honestly don't know about this.
This episode is called.
Please don't.
I could get Average Joe back in, he'll make this.
I can't look, honestly.
You know, but I feel like then you feel awkward to like go on leave or like when you need a holiday. So I think the important thing is like talking to someone, be like, is this a really unreasonable time for me to go on leave? Like, do you need me? And then if they say like, no, it's fine, go, then you should
Go.
be happy, go. Please.
But like people feel too obligated or they feel like they are so relied upon at work that they cannot take time off.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the business, it's not going to crumble, you know, if you take a week off. So like if your boss is standing there and is like, no, we can't do it without you. You just need to be like, well, yeah, you can. You really can. Like I'm taking a week off. Yeah, there's always a solution.
We need to be a little bit like the French, be a bit more selfish.
Oh, the French. That's a great. You're kind of feeling a bit French today, Zoe.
Parisian? Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Well, they have, you know, a very different culture around work than what we do.
Yeah.
36-hour workday. Sorry.
Yeah.
36-hour work day.
Possible.
36-hour work week.
Yeah.
If you email outside of work, it's like a criminal offense.
Yeah, and if you talk about work at a party, people will get angry.
Yeah, it's like, no, thank you. This is my personal time.
It's like literally offensive to their culture.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love that.
We all go to France and just test it out.
I think so. Well, I'll visit when I'm going.
Is anyone in France need some HR people?
Yeah.
We'll come and work for you.
We love the way you work.
We want to immerse ourselves in your boundaries.
Yeah. I think as well, like, you know, they go out for coffee in the morning, have a meeting like that, which is something that's enjoyable.
Yes.
But also, like, you're getting work done and you're having conversations. So I think it's nice to, like, you know, people have those, like, running meetings, the walking meetings.
Yes.
I think they're great. I'm like, do what you enjoy while getting work done. You can, you know, you can do a little bit of that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What if you're in like an essential job, you know, something that doesn't stop? So like you're a nurse or you're a doctor or you're in those type of positions.
Teaching.
Yeah, teaching. So like it's a little bit more difficult to take that time. But how do you create those boundaries in those particular type of jobs?
Routine, I think. You know, your routines around your work schedule. Sometimes, honestly, I think, no polite way to say this, but we can become really unmotivated in our downtime. And we talk about like not cramming stuff in, but we also can waste a lot of time not getting anything done that we need to. So it's like, how do we motivate ourselves to, when we have the time or the day off or what have you, to get the groceries done and to get the washing done and to, you know, go for the walk or whatever.
Yeah.
Because sitting on the couch all day, while some days it's definitely necessary, there are a lot of times I reckon I sit on the couch and I could get off my butt and do something more productive.
Yeah. It actually makes you feel better as well. Like,
When you're productive.
Yeah,
it definitely does. 100%.
I'm like,
does.
if I go home and I'm like people go home, they're like, oh, I like haven't stopped, like I've been doing all these things. But I'm like, the alternative is you like sitting down, having quiet time, which is important. But if that's every single day, it actually makes you feel worse. Like you get little hits of dopamine from like completing things, like getting things done. And in the long run, it's going to make you feel so much better that you've gotten these things done in the moment. And you're like proud of yourself.
I agree.
Yeah.
definitely.
It's just about getting yourself off the couch. But the routine side of things, like I think particularly essential workers, like you say, like they're frontline in the sense that they're people facing. You know, you can't work from home and be a nurse in most cases. You know, like there are limited jobs where that would be possible. You can't really teach remotely, you know, on a long-term basis, you know, depending on the sort of teaching institution you're working for. So putting in place like this is my schedule and this is when I do the things that for me and this is when I'm, you know, available and present at work. I think it's tough. I think there's even more motivation needed to stay on task for yourself. Like, because ultimately it's the individual who puts themselves last most of the time. It's like, I'll do everything for everyone else and I'll be exhausted and still wondering why I feel horrible when I have no dinner. Like when I skip breakfast, when I, you know.
Do you think like what you're saying that you get hits of dopamine when you get stuff done? Do you think that's why people like they have those blurry lines with boundaries when it comes to work because they feel good at work?
Oh yeah, it's definitely like a thrill. If you are getting feedback, maybe you're doing something new and someone's telling you you're really good at it, like, oh, your brain's like, oh my God, yes, I'm really good at this. I want to keep going. I want to get better. Like I want those like feedback from people telling me I'm good. Like that's what everyone wants, just to like have an ego boost. So like I think it's definitely hard when you're like a newcomer to something and like you want to grow and like be really good to sort of just like give yourself some rest and like not have to constantly like better yourself.
And when you are performing really well and you are experienced, then you have the added pressure of delivery.
Yeah.
You know, and again, that gives you a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
It's just finding that line between motivated with a level of cortisol that's healthy for you and burnt out to a crisp in the corner, being asked to take leave because you're no longer functioning in a healthy way. So, you know, I think there's so much burnout. I think that's a whole nother episode, by the way.
100%. Burnout.
But it's an incredibly interesting topic.
All right, let's move into, so we talked about work in our personal lives, our personal lives at our work. So that boundary there.
I think it's pretty normal to bring some level of, you know, yourself to work, like your day or what's happened or...
Like life events, like, you know, I bought a new car. That's gonna, I can't just keep that. Like I did keep that and then, you know, you're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Like it's something, stuff like that, major life events that you're gonna tell your coworkers. It's just nature.
Yeah.
But like every little inch, every gritty detail of your life, no one actually really wants to hear it and no one cares. Sorry if your butt hurt.
I don't know. I think that when it becomes a distraction from work, like you're not actually participating in the workplace in a healthy way because, you know, anytime you get the opportunity and there's someone sitting next to you and you're just talking about yourself or, you know, the issue or problem that you have and you find that you've spent like half a workday doing nothing other than talking about yourself, like you've got to deal with those things. And the workplace, there's a level of like, you know, yes, connecting and offering emotional support and, you know, being good co-workers. But at some point, if you're not able to manage that or look for strategies outside of the workplace or support network, like counselling or what have you, whatever it is that you need, then at some point the question's going to be asked, you know, are you still doing your job?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, like you said in the previous episode as well, like you're going to make friends at work, you know, it's like your social network. It's pretty small. So like it's okay to like have a chat about some things going on in your life. But like, yeah, like you said, maybe like at lunchtime or like when you're like trying to get things done. Just like putting a boundary, maybe like, oh, this is the time we can like have a chat casually and this is the time we can't.
It's really tough because I think I said before, captive audience. Like the person sitting next to you really is captive.
I love to know about people's lives. Like you don't care, but I'm like, if someone's telling me something, I'm like, tell me more. Like, I love it.
Yeah, so you could go like that. So like you could love it. And I love telling people about my life too. And I love hearing about people's lives. Yeah. But some people like that.
It's unsolicited.
And then what people do is they kind of push themselves onto those people or they try their best to get just like, you know, yank it out of them. And it's like, that's not respecting boundaries.
Yeah. Oh, true. Like asking
that is true.
personal questions.
Yeah, asking personal questions. Like, yes, we can put up boundaries, but we have to respect other people's boundaries as well. And we have to be able to recognize boundaries. Because that could be a difficulty for a lot of people, is to recognize boundaries.
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of the time I've faced like uncomfortable questions where I'm like, I don't really want to say that. Just like constant asking.
Yeah, I find it really strange when someone asks me a direct question more than once.
Yeah, and I haven't,
I'm an adult who can answer your question if I want to.
Yeah, I don't have to answer your question.
You know, and I think that's the other thing, like don't feel obligated to tell people everything that's happening in your life. Like the classic is someone asks you for time off, you know, they need to go to the doctors or something. No one needs to know why.
Yeah.
It's your business.
Yeah, that's right.
Just put your leave application in or send the email or whatever it is that you need to do and go.
I think something also about that is when you say, oh, I've got to, like, where are you going today?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I've got a doctor's appointment. Then you go to the doctor's appointment, they come back and then they go, oh, so like, are you okay? Like, how are you? And it's like, you've just gone, you know, for like a pill refill or something. It's like you don't need to tell them that. No. So you're just like, oh yeah, I'm okay. You're like, how do you? Sometimes you have to be like observant in those situations. I mean, if you're going to a doctor's appointment, you just kind of just move it on. Like that's their business. You don't have to really keep asking more questions about it.
Or like you get like a phone call or someone hits a phone call at work from their partner or something and it sounds a bit tense. And they hang up the phone and then it's like, oh, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right? Do you want to talk about it? And you're like, no, I don't.
I never ask people about like their relationships. It's very, if they tell me, sure, but like I'm not going to be like, are you okay?
Yeah, tell me the goals. Yeah, tell me the goals.
It's just, I don't know. I think we have to put on hold our own curiosity or desire to be in the know and just don't ask those questions.
Yeah.
If they want to tell you, like if they hang up the phone and they're just like, oh, and then they tell you.
Obviously your boys piss them off, right?
I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, guess what?
Dun, dun, dun. Strikes again.
So funny. But if it's just a, my God, blah, 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 or if it's a, walk away.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Yeah. If someone audibly groaned and then walked away, I would leave them for the day.
Yeah, that'd
scary.
be it. Yeah. Uh-oh.
No ducks.
What if someone is downloading on you at work? Like, is it your problem? How do you deal with that?
I don't know.
It's hard.
How do you avoid that person? Or like, how do you get them to stop talking about themselves? I've not so subtly just put in headphones before. Oh, sorry, just really immersed in this thing.
Yeah, I think you could just be like, oh, I'm going to listen to music. Is that okay? I'm always like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, come back, and then don't start the conversation again.
Yeah, okay. Like, actually
Then put my
physically
headphones.
put a physical barrier.
Yeah. You always like make an excuse of like something that you have to do that can't be like, oh, why?
Yes.
Remove yourself from, I think, the situation, and then it's easy to come back. And just if you don't initiate it again, I think they'll probably get the hint that you're not trying to have a chat.
And you have to like acknowledge that as the person if you are talking about your life.
Oh yeah, be self-aware that some people
yeah.
may not want to listen to like all your personal
Yeah, you got to acknowledge that.
details.
And I think the challenge is in a lot of cases people want to help,
Yeah.
but some of the things that are happening in people's lives, there aren't any easy solutions for.
No.
It's not an easy fix. And so you just kind of get in this loop of seeing that someone's upset and not be able to help them. And that's pretty horrible and traumatic too.
Yeah, it is hard.
So we've got on here learning to ask for help as one of our speaking points.
Oh, that's a good
I
idea.
think that's really important. As someone who doesn't like to ask for help, I feel like it's bitten me in the ass sometimes.
I feel like that one's like a bit of an opposite one. It's like a boundary that we've put up as a bad thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we've put up this wall where we're like, I can get this done myself. Like I don't need any help. Like whereas everyone needs help. No matter what you do, no matter how experienced you are, what field you are, you're always going to need help. We've definitely put up this boundary of that. So I think that boundary needs to be lowered a little.
I think one of the like really important things I learned when I was like young and I first started working was that I never wanted to ask questions because I was like, you don't come into a job knowing everything. Like people expect you not to know things, but like as like a scared new person, you're like, oh, they just expect me to know what I'm doing. Like I can't ask a question. But then that just ends up with so much more pain because then people get mad at you because you didn't do it right. But then you didn't know how to do it and you didn't ask a question. They're like, why didn't you ask me? And then it's just a whole cycle. You're going to end up getting like worse feedback. Yes. So I think every time you're unsure of something or like need help with something, you just ask straight away.
It's going to be easier.
You're not going to be stressed about it.
In the long run. Yeah, that's right.
Because if I don't ask, I'm always there like, oh my God, am I doing this right? Like I don't even know like what's happening.
Yeah.
I always think about it kind of like the house is burning down in the sense that if the house is burning down and you don't tell anyone, like
the house is just going to keep burning down.
It's going to crumble. It's going to be gone and the problem's going to be very obvious to everyone.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, hey,
firefighter, help me.
That would be handy. But like two people attacking the fire or putting the fire out, that's much, much easier than you trying to do it yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's very important. So taking down that like boundary you may have of like, I can do it all myself. I don't need anyone else.
Yeah, I think it's a self-esteem thing or something.
Oh,
like
100%.
Yeah.
I also think it's a bit of a social anxiety thing too.
Judgment.
Yeah, especially as like a new person. I'm talking about this as like you going into a new job.
Yeah.
Like you're anxious, like you don't know these people.
Yeah.
You're scared.
I mean, for me, it's definitely a scared thing. It's not like I need to know what I'm doing. It's like will they be annoyed at me if I ask them?
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
really like annoying to like have to always ask how to do something.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, everyone understands that when you're new, you're not going to know.
That's why I try and be like so overly nice to like new people and be like, do you need anything? Like, do you need to know? Like, are you finding it okay? Because I'm like, I would appreciate if someone did that to me as well, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So you're dealing with the guilt of saying no.
I feel like one of the greatest gifts that came from my most recent birthday was, I don't have this guilt anymore. I think there's a level of acceptance that comes with saying, you know, there are 24 hours in a day. And if it doesn't happen today and it happens tomorrow, the house didn't burn down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It's looking at the big picture, isn't it? And being like, is this going to cause a catastrophe? No. So like, why am I that stressed about it?
It's going back to that thing that I said about everything needs to be instant. Well, it doesn't. Everyone thinks everything needs to be, and we get impatient when it doesn't happen instantly. But we just need to take it back to old times when pigeons took our letters. And
Dude,
we have hours.
It's a massive burden on.
Yeah, it's so instant. Like, you know, like when you used to have to do everything by fax, you had to wait. you know, so things would
You could
drawn out.
multitask,
Like, you could multitask, whereas now everything's instant. You send an email, it's back within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And there's a lot of emails being sent that aren't for the recipients. Or the whole copy and blind copy people. Like, I'll just CC the whole world because I'm annoyed at you, or because I asked you for something and you didn't get it, or blind copying people, which is even more like strange in a way. Like,
yeah, the whole CC and BC.
at least CC is transparent. BC is like, wowza.
I've never used BC in my life.
I don't think you should.
No.
I think I have an ethical issue with blind copying. I really don't get the point of it.
Sneaky little. I asked them
Ethics
to do
of
this.
blind copy, maybe that's a whole other episode. But it could be seen as a form of bullying for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Distributing information outside of the network of people that you mutually understand to have that information. That's probably a lot of trust issues that evolve from stuff like that.
100%. With the whole like guilt of saying no thing, I think another thing, and like taking on too much, like a lot of like overthinkers, I think that their manager will be like annoyed with them if they don't do all, like go to the max, do like a million things in one day, like take on all this stuff. They think that's the expectation when it's not. Like I feel like people will be like, oh, if I don't do all this today, like I'm like, they're not gonna like me, they're gonna think I'm lazy, like all this stuff.
Or if you do, unfortunately, have a crappy boss, and if you don't take on all that work, they do get shitty.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you don't take on all that work, they're going to get shitty for like 2 minutes, and then in 4 minutes' time, they're not going to remember.
Yeah.
So like,
But it shouldn't be the mindset towards it anyway as a manager.
obviously,
that's
but
really-
like some
People definitely are like that.
yeah, but unfortunately, in reality, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And you just have to think it'll pass. They're not going to hold a grudge against you because you didn't finish that one project.
Yeah. And in the long run, do you want like weeks of stress or just like one bad 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Very true.
It comes also down to, as a manager, saying no as well.
Oh,
I think managers feel a lot of stress.
definitely.
100%.
And then that's why they treat their staff poorly, because they're under stress. Like if they don't perform, then they're going to look bad. So that's why yeah,
it's a vicious cycle of productivity and delivery. But in terms of boundaries, it's just, sometimes this can be seen as really passive aggressive. So I don't necessarily recommend using it all the time. But when you've genuinely got like a whole range of competing priorities and someone's asking you to do something else, say, look, this is what I'm doing, which, where do you want me to put this in my list?
Yeah, I think that's good, like to be like, well, what is most important for me to do right now? Like, I don't really know. Like, could you tell me what you want me to do?
Well, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I cannot physically fit in another thing.
Yeah. Please.
Dave from
Or one
accounting,
of
please
these
don't give it to me.
Poor Dave from accounting. He's almost as bad as Kearin. Yeah. But like that also is a good strategy if you have more than one manager. So some company structures will have like dotted lines, which are just like, if you have a dotted line manager, leave the job. Like
Resign.
it doesn't work. That's like the most horrible thing in the world to have a dotted line manager. But essentially you've got two people who are saying that they're your number one priority.
And also, I feel like a lot of the time they have no idea what you're doing, like what your workload is. So,
No,
like,
they have no idea what the other person's asked
yeah.
you to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then you just fall under so much pressure.
Yeah, so then it's up to you to inform both parties as to what your work schedule looks like.
Yeah.
I notice that happens quite a bit in trades.
Oh, yes.
So like in trades, like you don't necessarily always do like
One direct manager.
Yeah, you don't always just listen to them. You listen to everybody.
Oh, right,
You know,
yeah.
so like sometimes, and especially people who are more on the like lower side of the company will always get bombarded with like everything.
Oh, yeah.
So
They have the shit kicker.
yeah.
So everyone wants to throw their shit towards them.
And it's like, well, they're human too.
Yeah.
They get stressed as well, like, share the load. And it comes down to that thing of you don't feel guilty for saying no, that you can't do it. And there's such a mindset that, oh, I'm at the bottom, I can't say no.
Yes.
It's like, well, you can, because it's your health, that you need to take on.
I also think sometimes
consideration.
there's a perception that the person, we say, at the bottom, the most junior team member, they're not necessarily creating their own work, right? Their work's always being delegated from someone else. So sometimes if there's several people in the workplace who think, oh, it's my job to make sure they're busy,
Yeah.
like I need to make sure they've got work to do, they can inadvertently overload someone It's not necessarily, on purpose. So, it's like, oh, just in case you didn't have anything to do, here's 10 things to do.
Yeah.
And then someone else comes along, oh, here's 5 things you can do.
Yeah.
That's so true. People never really talk about that. You get really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I mean, like being in junior jobs and stuff, that happens like a lot. It happens a lot. But you just have to say, oh, yeah, okay, I've got other things to do. Like if I get bored, I'll get to those things. And that just lets the person who's given that to you know that you have stuff to do.
Yeah, that you are actually busy. Yeah.
But I think it's such a notion of if you're young in the workplace that you can't have a voice. It's like, well, you do. Yeah, you're still a person who works in the workplace and you still have a voice in the workplace. So you need to raise it if something's not right for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard though because like even if you have that perception of yourself and you're like, I should be able to be respected, a lot of people like who are like older than you will be like, well, I have more life experience than you and I don't think what you're saying is valid. And it's like, well, how do you deal with literally not having respect from people just because of your age?
Or you get the, when I was your age, I had so much more on my plate. And stuff like that.
Because I had a child at 20,
It's like, I don't understand. Like, I respect that you definitely have more life experience than me. You probably know more than me. But like,
older.
if you're just going to neglect everything I say because I'm younger than you, like, why am I even here?
Yeah, that's right. There's always been the notion of you respect people who are older than you and you respect elderly. But respect goes 2 ways. Like younger people who come into an office are always going to respect their higher ups. It's just like common, you know, and if they don't, they get kicked. So, they're going to respect their higher ups. But it goes both ways. Like you have to respect them as well. You have to understand that they are also in this workplace and are also working. It's
just a culture thing.
Yeah,
like you're going to have a bad culture if there's not mutual respect.
That's right.
Look, most people come to work wanting to do a good job, whether they're first day on the job or 10 years in the job. So finding common ground with people is important.
Very important. And setting boundaries for yourself between your work and your...
And recognising other people's boundaries.
Recognising other people's boundaries. Respect is a huge thing.
Yeah.
In anywhere. Respecting people's boundaries, respecting people.
Not trying to delve too far into topics that are not work-related.
Yeah, just be observant.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us and listening to the Workplace Inappropriate podcast. As a business owner, I'm very grateful for the other businesses that we work with to make this possible. Our suppliers do an impeccable job and we're so grateful for Premier Sound and Lighting. Justin Myers, thank you for making us sound so good. Dave, in Ireland, we had to go all the way to Ireland to find the best production guy there is, but you make us look good and you keep it classy with your editorial. Thank you very much. To Anthony, our voiceover guy, you're the best voiceover guy there is. Thank you. Jess Ritchie from Transformational Brand Lab, thank you for our branding and imagery. It's just beautiful. Thank you for listening and we'll see you next month.
Thanks for listening to Workplace Inappropriate from workplacepositive.com. Workforce Positive offers a fresh approach to bullying and harassment prevention training. Our training goes beyond the legislative definitions. We apply learning to real examples so that your team are equipped to make the best possible decisions on their conduct. With the Workplace Inappropriate Training Program, employers have access to monthly live training to induct new team members every 30 days, ensuring that you're always current with your legal obligations to actively prevent bullying and harassment at work. We have your policy, process, conduct charter, and training covered, all in one place. Contact workforcepositive.com at www.workforcepositive.com to learn more.